Hey everybody, you're back here in my kitchen. I'm almost done kneading all my challah dough for this week. I do have a different video where I make the challah so you can see how that gets done. But I'm going to finish kneading this challah dough and then we're going to start making 3 easy Shabbos dishes because who has time to make complicated ones? Let's make some Shabbos food. Hey everybody, it's Dora from flippinghouses-and-pancakes.com, and today we are going to make 3 easy Shabbos dishes. Yes, we've done this before. We're making some different ones this time, and we're going to start with the most classic Shabbos dish that you could probably think of. We're going to start with chicken soup. The weather is getting colder. I'm going to start peeling some vegetables. The weather is getting colder, and so every Friday night, everybody's going to want some nice chicken soup. Now, mind you, we eat it all summer long. My kids don't think it's Friday night unless we've really had Shabbos chicken soup. So I'm going to start prepping my soup pot. And this soup is going to cook for hours. Cooking it longer is going to give it more flavor. So we're definitely going to do that. I'm going to start by prepping all my vegetables. And just so you see, I'm going to make a really big pot. I have a 16-quart pot here. To make it, I actually separate it out and freeze it so I don't have to make it every week. So I'm going to make my soup once, and then I'll have soup for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Then I make it again. So once a month, I have to make chicken soup from scratch. And it freezes beautifully. I mean, frozen chicken soup is like the best thing to have in the freezer. I'm going to put in onions. I've got some onions here. I've got turnips here. I'm making a big pot, so I kind of have doubled a lot of my vegetables. I've got a parsnip. It looks kind of like a carrot, but it's yellow. It does not taste like a carrot, just so you know. I seem to have only baby carrots, but hey, now I don't have to do any peeling for those, so that's nice. I have a rutabaga. You don't have to use a rutabaga. I just felt like getting one, and I saw them in the store today, and I saw a small one. I thought that was great. They're a little bit sweeter than your turnip, so you can definitely use either one. You could use both. I've got everything here today. Celery, you got to put celery in your soup, and I had a zucchini, so I thought, why not? You can put lots of things in your soup. I've seen people put sweet potato in their soup. I've seen people put leeks in their soup. People put all kinds of stuff in their soup. My basic soup is going to have onion, turnip, parsnip, carrot, and celery. But today I'm adding the rutabaga and the zucchini. If you want to see it all written out, this recipe is in my cookbook. You can go ahead and find it. Flipping Houses and Pancakes, Kosher Recipes and Kitchen Design Tips from an Amateur Professional. The recipe is in my cookbook, so you don't have to write anything down. You can go find it. It tells you exactly how to make the soup. And then you'll know, but you can watch me make it here. I'm going to be peeling a bunch of vegetables, and I'm going to chop them all up. Some people put whole vegetables in. They'll just put like the whole turnip or the whole parsnip into their soup, but I find I get more flavor by cutting the vegetables up, and also we like to eat the vegetables in our soup. I know a lot of people like to take them out because I feel like they lose their flavor, but I like soup vegetables, so we're going to leave those in and enjoy them in the soup. So the turnips are going to get diced. The parsnip is going to get diced. I have a really big parsnip today. And you know how to tell a good parsnip or turnip from a bad one? Now, turnips can be a little tricky because sometimes they feel like they're really good, and then in the end they're a little woody on the inside, which is not good. But a parsnip, you're going to check it the same way you would check to see if a carrot was good. On most root vegetables, in fact. So the turnip you can check the same way. It's just sometimes you'll still get a bad one. But a parsnip, all you want to do is you want to feel it, you want to check it and make sure, can it be bent well? It should be nice and firm, and you shouldn't have any issues. You don't want like a wilty. Just think, would you want your carrots like that? If you don't want a wilty carrot or a wrinkled up carrot, you want a nice firm one, you're going to want the same for a parsnip. Okay? And then the same goes for a rutabaga. And rutabagas have this waxy kind of coating on the outside. So if you can't tell the difference between a turnip and a rutabaga, the waxy one is the rutabaga. They're just a little touch sweeter, a little sweeter than a turnip. Okay, but it's a similar sort of vegetable. And you're just going to peel off all of that waxy outer layer, all the peel and the waxy outer layer, and we're going to get these diced up too. So I am going to dice everything except my onions. My onions are going to get quartered. I'm going to peel them and quarter them. You could even just have them if you want. But everything else will get diced up, and we'll come back and start prepping the soup. So we have my chicken pot, my big one, big giant 18 quart here. I've got some chicken bones in this pot, and I'm starting to heat it up. I'm using chicken bones this time. They kind of have, it's like the rib cage of the chicken. It's got all the bones, and it's got some chicken meat on it. You can use that, or you can go ahead and use a whole chicken. I've used a whole chicken. I've used just drumsticks. I've used thighs, whatever you want. Some people will put those in a bag because they're afraid that a bone will get in their soup. I'm not really afraid of it. I'll just take the bones out eventually when I'm serving. I'll just take the bones out later. So I'm not really worried about that. The bones give a huge amount of flavor. So just using like a chicken breast without any bone is not going to give you the flavor that you're going to want in your chicken soup. But I'm starting to heat this up. I'm going to add some water and then we'll add the veggies. Okay, so my chicken is starting to warm up. You can see there's a little steam coming out. I'm going to add some water to it because I don't want it to burn. I don't have to add all the water for my soup at this point, but just enough that my chicken will not burn at the bottom of my pot. And almost forgot to grab my salt. So I'm going to start adding my veggies in. Now, I did quarter my onions, but I'm going to do what my mother and my grandmother and my great-grandmother always did. And I don't know why it works. I don't know why it tastes so great. But I'm going to measure my salt on top of my onion and put it in there. I don't know if you saw what I did. I will do it again for you right here. I just pour the salt on. I guess that's just how they measured how much salt they needed. But I've got 4 sets. So I do it on each half or 2 quarters. I'm going to dump it in the pot. You want your soup to be salty. And sometimes I still have to add a little salt later, but usually that comes out pretty good. I'm going to add my onion in, and I'm going to add all these nice veggies that I've already cut up. I've got my zucchini here. I've got my carrots, my parsley, my parsnip. Not my parsley. I actually don't put parsley in my soup. A lot of people do. The only other thing I'm going to put in my soup, besides everything I've already showed you, is I am going to add some dill. A lot of people put parsley. I'm not a big fan of the parsley in the soup, but you definitely could if you want to. However, if you are going to put herbs like parsley or dill into your soup, I would really recommend waiting until after you bring your soup to a boil. Because what we're going to do next is I'm going to add a bunch of water. I'm going to fill my soup pot up, and when it comes to boil, as it starts to boil, it's going to bring up a bunch of yucky stuff on the top of the soup, and that yucky stuff we're going to skim right off. It's bringing up any fat, any like not impurities, but like yucky stuff. Sometimes when you cook chicken, you see like yucky stuff on it. Obviously, I've rinsed my chicken. It's clean, and that's not it. It's just, it will make a much cleaner, nicer chicken soup. So when I'm going to fill my pot up to about here, I'm going to bring it up to a boil. If I fill it really high, I'm going to boil over. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to bring it about up to here. I'm going to fill it with water. I'm going to bring it up to a boil. And I'll show you as I start to skim all the stuff off the top of my soup. So that's what's next. I'm going to add the water, and then we'll skim. All right, my soup is boiling, and you can see all this foamy stuff that comes up, floats up to the top. We're going to skim that right off the top of the soup. We're going to keep doing that and keep skimming until all of that is gone, until it doesn't come up anymore. Okay, so just skim the soup up. This will also help make it a little more clear. Okay, so the soup, I had skimmed off pretty much as I could. You can see a lot of that stuff is gone. I scooped out like a good amount of oil and foam, and you can see like, I scooped it all into that cup. And then I added some dry dill. You could use fresh dill, but I had dry today. Always add the dill afterward because otherwise it'll get stuck in that foam and that oil, and then you'll just end up scooping it out. So I've scooped it out. I'm going to put a lid on this pot, and I'm going to let it kind of simmer, boil, whatever you want to call it, for like 2 or 3 hours. And occasionally add a little more water if it looks like it needs it. And when we're done, we'll have a nice rich soup. Okay, so the next dish I'm making is rice with beets, raisins, and almonds. It's my play on something called polo kishmish, which is a dish, a Persian rice dish, and this is kind of sweet and really tasty. So we're going to start by, I put a pot of water here. I am going to salt it nicely. That salt will get absorbed a little bit by the rice. Also make your water boil faster. And we will set this to start boiling, and when it starts to boil, we will put the rice in, and then we'll make all the toppings. That's the beets, raisins, and almonds part. That's the part that really makes it delicious. So I'm going to start by boiling this water up, and when it's ready, we'll come back and we'll add the rice. By the way, this recipe is also in my cookbook, so don't forget to check it out. Okay, it's a little steamy in here. My water is boiling nicely. So now I'm going to scoop some rice in here. I'm using basmati, but you can use whatever kind you like. I'm going to put probably 3.5 cups of rice in here. Again, this recipe is in my cookbook, so you can definitely find it there. Well, I put 3 cups. I'm going to let the rice boil when it is almost completely done. So you can like bite into it. It's soft enough, but it's not 100% soft and cooked. I'm going to strain it out, rinse it with cold water, and then we'll do the rest of this dish. The rice is in the strainer. I rinsed it off with cold water so it could start to cool down and it could stop cooking. I essentially made my no measure rice. It's in my cookbook. It is a Persian style basmati rice, but you can use any other plain rice that you have for this dish. And now I am dicing up some beets. My recipe calls for 1 small beet, but it's a smaller amount of rice. Or also, I like it, so I'm adding more. I have these little tiny beets over here. Okay, dicing up the beets. They're going to be pretty small dice, and I'm going to toss them with some oil and put them on the sheet pan. Now, you can make this dish completely stovetop, so you can definitely heat the oil in a frying pan and cook these. And traditionally you would do the almonds and the raisins on the stovetop, but I don't have time or patience to deal with that today. I don't know if you could tell from my video, but I've actually been leaving the house like in between half of the steps. I'm just like, I put the rice in the strainer, I had to run out and pick up a kid, I'm back, I go, coming and going. So for today, we're going to do it like it is in my recipe in my cookbook, and we are going to do this topping entirely in the oven. So I'm going to finish dicing these. I'm going to drizzle them with some oil, give them a good toss. I'm going to throw them in the oven at 450 until they look nice and crispy and cooked. Then we'll take them out, add a few more things to it, throw it back in the oven just for a few more minutes, and it'll be done. While my beets are in the oven, I'm going to start on my 3rd dish for our video. Okay, today we're going to make some Toffee Bars. They're really easy and they taste delicious. So we're going to start by putting in 1 egg. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. I clearly am measuring carefully. There you go. A teaspoon of vanilla. It's very crowded, so I'm going to move everything out of the way. Okay. We are going to put everything in all at once so that it's just easier. I know normally I would cream my sugar and my oil together. I'm going to put half a teaspoon of salt. Just shift everything off my counter as we go. Okay. And just pause the video. I don't know if you could tell that there was a little break there. It's because I realized I'm doubling my recipe, but I forgot to double those ingredients. So there's actually now 2 eggs, a whole teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla in my bowl. Now I'm going to continue, and I'm going to double everything else. Woo! All right. I'm going to put 2 cups of brown sugar. Scoop it out. Make sure to kind of press it in there. I'm using light brown sugar. You can use dark if you want. Press it in there. That's 1 cup. And, I just need to make this bag a little bigger so I can scoop it out. I used to keep it in a container, and even like with the special discs and everything, it still got clumpy and stuck, and it just drove me crazy. So I keep it in the bag now. 2 cups of brown sugar. All right, we're gonna do 2. Oh, I'm gonna do the oil last. That's why I'm doing this one. I'm gonna put 4 cups of flour in here. Now you could do, if you feel like cleaning more measuring cups, you could cream your oil and sugar like you normally would, and add your vanilla. And then, of course, add your dry ingredients afterward, but I'm not feeling like doing that today. So, here we go. That's 2. That's 3. And yes, I am scooping it straight from this bag. Now, this bag has been pre-sifted, and I always make sure to shake my flour a little bit in my cups like that. And it helps it level off, but it also kind of lightens it up a little bit, so it's not too compacted. We want to compact the brown sugar. We want the white flour to be light and airy. Those 4 cups of flour, and we're going to add 2 cups of oil. And today I'm using avocado oil, but you could use any oil that doesn't have a lot of flavor. So you could use canola oil, vegetable oil, safflower oil. I would recommend not using olive oil, but if you really want, it's your cookies. Okay. So it's 2 cups of oil. And we're going to cream this all together, and this is going to make our cookie base for our toffee bars. Okay, so I got my mixer. I'll move these out of the way so you can see better. Got my mixer going here. I don't have it on high speed. It's just gently mixing it, just like you would any other cookie dough. You're going to mix it. So it's nice and combined. I think I'm going to, let's see, I think I need to wet my hands. No, I think it's good. All right, we're gonna take this off. We're gonna get all of this nice cookie batter onto a prepared sheet pan. I covered it in foil, and I sprayed it with cooking spray so nothing will stick. Okay, we are going to take all of this nice cookie dough and dump it. You can use a spatula. I chose for some reason to just use my hands. It's been a weird day. It's fine. It's all good. I'm gonna use some of that too. Some more wet cookie dough at the bottom. There we go. Okay. All right. We're gonna spread this out. Maybe I will wet my hands just a bit, because that will help me spread it out. If you ever have trouble with cookies and they're sticking to you, wet your hands and they will not stick. Okay. I'm gonna get this spread out all over the whole sheet pan. We're gonna pop it into the oven at 350. And then we'll take it out when it is kind of brown around the edges and not shiny in the middle. We're going to take it out and we're going to do something to it. Okay, so I'll be right back. Throw this in the oven. Just a heads up, this batter was feeling particularly, like the cookie dough was feeling particularly sticky today. And even wetting my hands just did not allow me to spread it out properly and smooth it out properly. So what I did, little tip, is I took a piece of saran wrap or cling wrap, whatever you want to call it. I just placed it right over the cookie dough and I spread it out. I just use my hands to spread it out. You could use a rolling pin also. And that keeps it from sticking to you and it makes it nice and smooth. And now it's ready to go in the oven. Okay, my cookie bars just went into the oven and I took my beets out. They got a little crispy because there was a lot of chaos happening here. But it's all good. What I'm gonna do is, to this same sheet pan, I am gonna add a bunch of slivered almonds. Okay, this is so good in rice. You can do the slivered almonds and the raisins again on a on a frying pan, like on the stove top, you can definitely do it, but you don't need to. But it is so good. This is my favorite. This is based on polo kishmish, which is my favorite Persian rice. And I can't get this bag open. There we go. I have golden raisins here. If you have regular raisins, you can use those. If you don't have raisins, but you have cranberries, you can use those. Okay? I'm going to put a bunch of raisins. I'm going to put the almonds. I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of turmeric. Again, this recipe is in my cookbook, so you can look it up. A little bit of turmeric. If you're doing it on the stovetop, you would put the turmeric in the oil while you're cooking, while you're kind of cooking them. Okay, I'm adding just a little more oil because it looks like the beets absorbed a lot of the oil. I'm going to just kind of toss it a little bit. And we're going to throw this back into the oven just for a few more minutes. Okay. We're going to toss it, the oil, the turmeric, and the raisins, and the beets, and the almonds. Okay, so I'm going to spread it back out. I'm going to throw this back into the oven just for a few minutes until the almonds start to look a little browned and the raisins look a little puffed up. All right, can you see that? The raisins and almonds and beets. Oh, yum. I'll show you a better close-up in a minute. Those are all out of the oven. The raisins plumped up really nicely. The almonds became kind of toasted and have that like nice yellowy turmeric-y thing happening. And these are gonna they'll get served right on top of my rice. If you're serving it the next day and you want it to stay nice and crunchy, then I would keep it separate, warm your rice, and then put these on top of it. If you don't mind if they get a little softer, trying to get all that nice stuff from the sheet pan. Nice oil and flavor right onto my rice, okay? If you don't mind it being a little softer, it'll still be pretty crunchy. Go ahead and put it right on your rice. And actually, if you reheat it with the foil open, with the lid open, if you reheat it with the foil open, it'll stay crunchy. Look at that. Wow. This is going to be delicious. I'm really excited to eat this Shabbos. Time to check on the Toffee Bars. Okay, my Toffee Bars are out of the oven. They're golden, like brown around the edges. They're not shiny and wet looking anymore on the top. So the bars themselves are pretty much done. Now is what we do next. We're going to take some chocolate chips. I've got a nice bag of chocolate chips here. I'm going to spread it across my pan. I think I need more. Hold on. When I grabbed my chocolate chips, I forgot that I doubled this recipe. So I'm going to grab a second bag of chocolate chips. And this is a small bag. It's only 9 ounces. So I'm going to spread out my chocolate chips. We're going to spread it better in a minute. You'll see. You'll see. Okay, I'm going to drizzle about 2 tablespoons because I'm doubling it. I'm going to try and remember that. 2 tablespoons of oil on top. That sounds crazy. This is going to help the chocolate spread better. I'm going to throw them back into my 350-degree oven, but only for about 1 minute. So we're going to put them back in the oven, and then we're going to take them out. And the reason that I do that is because that will help the chocolate melt just enough to give it a really good smear across the cookie bars. Then we're going to top it with this almond brittle. You can get any kind of almond brittle. I happen to have Geffen's almond brittle here. It's parv. It's even kosher for Pesach, which is great. And no, I have not attempted to make this recipe for Pesach, but I could try and adjust it maybe this year and see if we get something good. Let's see. You think that's about a minute? Let's take a look. I'm going to take these chocolate chips out. Let's give them another 30 seconds. You're going to take them out. They're going to still look like chocolate chips, and hopefully they will spread, though, across the top of our cookie bars. And then we'll sprinkle on our almond brittle, and we're going to let it cool completely before we cut them. That was about right. All right, So they still look like chocolate chips. I know. I did tell you that they were going to still look like chocolate chips. We're going to spread them. Look at this. And if you discover that it's not spreading well enough, throw it back into the oven for another 30 seconds. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about doing that right now because this is still not quite spreading the way I want it to. So let's throw this back in for 30 more seconds and then we'll spread them again. We'll finish the spreading. Okay, throw it in, give it another 30 seconds. Maybe pretend your oven mitts are talking to each other while you're waiting. Whatever it is you have to do to pass the time. Let's see if they're ready now. You just need a little extra heat. You could go to the effort of actually melting your chocolate ahead of time. Oh yeah, now it's spreading. Now we're talking. You could go to the effort of melting your chocolate ahead of time in like a microwave safe bowl or on your stovetop. But that means that you're going to have to wash your microwave safe bowl or your pot or your double boiler. And guess what I don't want to do? Wash anything extra. So we're going to spread this chocolate all the way across, just like this. Oh, this is going to be so tasty. Look at that. Okay, all spread across. I'm gonna leave that out because somebody in my house is undoubtedly going to want to lick it in a few minutes. And we're going to sprinkle the almond brittle right across the top of our bars. This is going to be so delicious. But again, don't cut them until they're cool because they just will crumble otherwise. They have to be completely cool when you cut them. And like I said, this was a double batch. You can use a 9 by 13 inch pan and make a single batch. Oh yeah, these will be great. I think we should come back in a few minutes when they're nice and cool and see how they came out. All right, we have chicken soup. You can see I put some matzo balls in there, but you can put noodles, you can put rice, you can put croutons, gundi, wontons, whatever you like, but there's some chicken soup, beautiful. Now it's only cooked for about 3 hours. I'm gonna probably cook my soup for another 3 hours after this, and it'll become even more golden, but wow. Who doesn't want a nice bowl of homemade chicken soup? We have the rice with, you can see the beets, the almonds, and the raisins, and wow, how gorgeous is that dish, right? Delicious too. And then we have the Toffee Bars. And here, I cut one for you so you could see. Toffee Bars. And those are delicious too. And there we have it. We have a nice bowl of chicken soup. We've got the rice with the beets, raisins, and almonds. And we have yummy, yummy Toffee Bars. Very excited to eat one of these. I hope you enjoyed my video. Remember that the recipe for the soup and the rice are both in my cookbook, Flipping Houses and Pancakes, Kosher Recipes and Kitchen Design Tips from an Amateur Professional. And you can find that on Amazon or on my website, flippinghouseandpancakes.com.